Last year I got evicted from this place where I lived for over 10 years, and I was one of the 140,000 people that got evicted last year. As we speak, Montreal is entering the early stage of a housing crisis, with an all-time low in occupancy rate of 1.4%. Now, the most impacted by the housing crisis are low-income workers, such as single-parent families, part-time workers, and students, such as myself. A lot of us are paying over 50% of our salary just for rent. Now, I decided to take this unfortunate event and turn it into a research opportunity. To do so, I took a systems thinking approach. This allowed me to identify key stakeholders, patterns and underlying structures that are generating this housing crisis, as well as gaps in the solutions and levers for change. For this project, I will focus on the rental market. We begin our understanding of the challenge with a basic supply and demand analysis. Right now, the rapid population growth is surpassing the supply, and this creates a perfect scenario for rent increase and mass eviction. Through my research, I learned that 7 out of 10 owners own only 1 or 2 extra properties, and they are a major source for this housing crisis. A lot of them see their property as a retirement investment, but they're actually putting themselves in a very difficult financial position. On the one hand, they have to find reliable tenants that will pay rent, and on the other hand, they have to pay their mortgage and rapidly increasing city taxes. Now here is the tricky part. They cannot increase rent as they see fit, because the law caps rent increase at roughly 2% per year. So the only way for them to drastically increase rent legally is to evict their tenants. And as long as there will be a shortage of units, owners will continue to do so. So right now, the system favors owners at the expense of tenants. Now the reason why there's a shortage of units is because of scarcity of land, lack of skilled workers, but also lack of funding. In fact, the housing crisis has been years in the making as governments have been gradually cutting funds for affordable housing. This has pushed investors, developers, and owners towards the private market, and they are now benefiting from the status quo. If there is one key insight that I would like to share with you today, it is the opportunity that we have to bring systems change by focusing on one key stakeholder that we generally vilify: the small owners, those who own 1 or 2 extra properties. Now, what I learned through my research is that they are only reacting to a chain reaction that is provoked by our housing market that is based on short-term profit and short-term planning. If they had alternative options, they wouldn't act this way. And in fact, there are. They could actually focus on different housing models such as housing cooperatives and community land trusts. Should they do so, they would hold the key to activate what I believe is the biggest lever for change: collaboration between tenants and owners. They could shift a for-profit rental market towards a not-for-profit rental market, maximizing Montreal's collective capital instead of individual capital. So why is this a key finding? Because this brings key stakeholders from a market-based solution approach towards a multi-stakeholder approach, where owners are part of the solution process that brings change to a system that is actually hurting them. Participating in Map the System was really important to me to challenge 2 main assumptions. First, I thought that owners were really self-serving and didn't care about their tenants, but that's not true. When I interviewed them, I learned that the most important things to them is not to lose money and not to waste their time fixing problems. Second, I thought that funding affordable housing was a great solution, but in fact it's not, because nothing prevents owners from evicting the tenants and increasing rent. In fact, a better solution would be to create incentives to attract investors, developers, and owners towards not-for-profit housing models, which are, by the way, safer investments where everybody wins. Finally, the great thing about using a systems thinking approach is that we can create collective knowledge around which we can collaborate. As such, you will find in the description section below links to my research and my mapping. And I hope my research inspires you questions and brings you insight as to how you can solve this complex problem, either here in Montreal, in your city, or anywhere else in the world. As for me, systems thinking has really helped me develop my critical thinking, especially when reading the news, journal articles, and also when discussing how to meet UN sustainability goals. So what's next? I would like to start an initiative to bring tenants and owners together and to help them collaborate in finding ways to mitigate the housing crisis. Now, I know it might be a long shot, it might take time, but I believe it's possible because there is always a way. Thanks for watching. Bye now.